That's not what I... Good morning. Avatar? Avatar, what are you doing? Ah, there we go. Now you've perked up a little. Anything I'm hoping to see... Well, I'm here. No, I'm not sleepy. I was just looking to one side and, my avatar, kinda closes its eyes a majority of the way when it's doing that, so... But yeah, as for what I'm hoping to see, um, I am curious about what else is gonna be shown. Yeah, no, it's just me today, unless somebody decides to join me, where I'm currently, sharing the screen. But I don't mind, it just being me today. Besides, I have my husband beside me, and I know there's stuff here that's gonna make him freak out. Am I right, dear?
What?
There's gonna be stuff shown today that's gonna make you jump for joy, right?
We'll see.
Okay.
No, Flaming Espinasse is good, but, we'll see what else gets revealed.
Yeah. Because this isn't just Monster Hunter, this is like the entirety of what Capcom is showing this year at the Tokyo Game Show. So there's gonna be a lot of stuff shown off, which I kinda like, honestly. So what I'm most curious about is what are you guys hoping to see? Okay, you know what? For the sake of my sanity over here, there we go. I haven't. Hearing how tough they are always hypes me up. I'm glad you view it that way, uh, Crow. I would join, but I'm currently stuck in calculus. Ugh, calculus. Also, would like to see a crossover event. Yeah, a crossover event would be pretty cool. Yeah, I have been kind of experimenting with 2D avatars, but the one I have looks kind of traumatized, so I'm afraid she's gonna have to get put on the back burner for a bit. But yeah, I do think a crossover event would be pretty cool. Calculus isn't that bad. Um, you're saying this to somebody who barely passed math the entirety of high school. And also barely passed math the few times I took it in college. But to be fair, my final math teacher was shall we say not the best. She tried to give us an ISBN number that doesn't exist and said nothing about it when the rest of us were like, "Hey, um apparently our textbook doesn't exist." Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. Everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses in life. And sorry if it seems like my avatar is really really squirmy. I have my computer on my lap because I kinda don't have a desk at the moment. But that'll change eventually. Yeah, I'm sorry my avatar is opening and closing its eyes a lot. I because I have my contacts in, uh I'm blinking a lot more than I do normally. And how old was she? I have no idea how old this woman was. You monsters, and on my third cup of coffee. Oh dear. Uh, maybe after that third cup, I suggest you switch to decaf for your continued health and safety. That is all. Premiering in 40 something minutes. Also, know something not on for another 45 minutes. Yeah, this is. Yeah, I started us early, so, well, I was originally going to have my husband on as a co host, but we just could not get the audio stuff to behave itself. So we started the stream early so we could get the bugs worked out. And by worked out I mean beat into submission. 3 cups is your limit? Okay, at least you know your limits. Unlike some people in this world.
It's time for squirrels.
If you hear any strange sentences in the background, my husband is currently playing Magic the Gathering Arena in the over on on his phone, and he is less than 3 feet from me.
Rise, my squirrel army!
Walks up to the recording equipment. No, 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 no. The issue isn't anything to do with my recording equipment. It's because we're so close to each other because I don't have my own workspace right now. Um, my mic, our discords pick each other up like nobody's business. You guys have probably heard the results in the Sunbreak uploads that have occurred recently. Yeah, that's the result, and I'd rather not be dealing with that. But yeah, once we have our own place, I'll be able to set up my own little recording studio, and it won't be a problem. God, I think I slept funny on my neck. Honey,
Mm-hmm.
I think I slept funny on my neck. Either that or I'm just stressed, and as a result, my neck is just a little lump of metal but made of muscles. Which do you say it is, dear?
I don't know. How does that feel?
Much better, thank you, darling. Thank you, dear.
You're welcome, sweetie.
You're the best.
No, you are.
You're a close second. But yeah, once we have our own place, I can kind of make my own little recording studio, and this won't be an issue ever again. That's that's for later when I have my own recording studio and when I have my own little my own little workroom, so I can record without feeling like the people in the same room as me are gonna look at me funny for what I'm talking about. What is this? Hopefully you hopefully you threatened the bugs. Well, it's not really bugs, it's more a unfortunate side effect of close physical proximity. Like the only real way to fix it is to like punt my husband out of the room, and I'd rather not do that because I enjoy his company.
Death by squirrels!
Although sometimes the things he says make me question his sanity.
Look, squirrel decks are amazing.
I know they are, dear.
Not that what I had was a dedicated squirrel deck, but, you know.
Dice ASMR just to click clack math rocks. Yep. That might actually be really fun. But that's a thing for another day. What you doing?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, nothing.
Who else would I be talking to, dear? So, what's up?
Oh, nothing.
Okay, fair. Yeah, like.
Oh, yeah, that needs work.
Yeah, but the big thing she brought up is the paint job.
Yeah.
Uh, she didn't really bring up any other major issues.
6 bedrooms.
It's
Two baths.
yeah, it looks like it's one of those properties that yeah, it could definitely be there. Swirl deck. No, 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 not swirl, Simon. Squirrel. Squirrel deck.
As in, I make a bunch of furry little friends that go and eat people's faces. Because squirrels in MGG are friggin' terrifying.
But yeah, hun, aside from the paint job, what do you think? Animo Traveler walks away sad. Oh.
Within walking distance. Okay, yeah. It's
So,
on public water and
yeah, it's on public everything, which I know you were interested in.
okay, cool. You know, let's check it out.
Awesome. Glad, glad you like it.
Yeah. Send an email back and let her know we're interested in maybe getting a house tour of that one.
From the sounds of it, that's a green deck. Yeah, Squirrel tends to be green, what I like to call green token factory decks. See?
Interestingly enough, squirrels oftentimes are either mono green or Golgari colors. So
And Golgari is green black. I don't know when it started becoming a thing to use the Ravnica deck names for the to use the Ravnica guild names for multicolor decks, but I don't mind.
I mean, what did you call them for?
The colors they were using. It's using blue, and to some degree, its function. For example, if you're doing a mono blue mill deck, you would say, when asked what type of deck it was, you would say mono blue mill. And then watch as every single other person you're playing with do everything in their power to shut your deck down.
Without fail, without exception, anyone who rocks up with like primarily blue colors, that person is gonna get targeted first. It don't matter if it's Azorius or spell slinging Izzet or
Simic,
Dimir Mill
or
or
anything really.
if there is any hint of
Mill.
blue,
Mill, a word and deck I still fear.
yeah, yeah. No, regardless, like any blue players, anyone who plays any amount of blue, everyone fears them and tries to shut them down, and rightly so, because any amount of blue in your deck makes you a formidable threat.
Yeah, I actually played a. Why? What's the problem with mill decks? So a mill deck is where most of the effects of creatures, spells, instants, sorceries, all that good stuff is built around forcing your opponent to discard cards from their deck, their hand, or both.
So to sort of lay it out for you, Simon. Let's say I go first. I put down an island. From that island, I put down a little thing called a ruin crab. You do your turn. My turn comes around. I put in another land. Ruin crab mills 2 cards from the top of your deck and puts it into your graveyard.
I thought Rune Crab milled 3.
I think it's 2 or 3. Regardless, and now picture every single time my turn rolls around, or sometimes even on your turn, you try to do anything, or I do anything. Everything I do takes a little bit of the top of your deck and throws it into the graveyard, which means unless you're built specifically around reanimating stuff from your graveyard or using, like, I don't know, flashback stuff in order to play spells from your graveyard, or you have Leer, which is another blue card that's amazing, that lets you play instants and sorceries from your graveyard. Unless you're able to play stuff reliably from your graveyard,
You're
you are going
boned.
to... Eventually, it gets to the point where, if it's a good mill deck, around turn 5 or so, you've either milled half their deck or they're down to the last few cards, and the moment you can't draw cards, you automatically lose the game.
Yeah, basically, a good mill deck can reliably deck out your opponents.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's kind of alarming for a lot of players because there's very little that can be done against a well-built mill deck unless you run a deck specifically designed to counter being milled, which is very difficult.
Yeah, or you are like heavy aggro, like I kill you as fast as possible.
Yeah. I actually have an entertaining story about a time I participated in a Magic tournament with a Simic deck.
Green, white, and blue.
Or there is a card that, oh yeah, there is that card that says, hey, take half your deck, put it in the graveyard, have a nice day, bye.
What's even more fun is that there's a card that does that, and you can copy it by sacrificing one of your critters, so that way you do it twice. And then you just throw in Tasha's hideous laughter, and your opponent's basically done.
and and no one will play with you again unless they know you're not using that deck, because that is such an asshole move. It is just such the biggest asshole move. But yeah, so I was playing at a little local tournament in high school. This was during the first run of Ravnica, before it got a D&D module and everything. This was back during its first run, I think. And my then boyfriend at the time, who played a lot of Magic, helped me put together a little Simic deck. Now, Simic is now used as color slang for blue-green, for just a blue-green deck. But back then, that meant that this was cards I ran predominantly that were affiliated with the Simic Guild. Now, I also had a very specific card in this deck that I got in my hand fairly early and held on to. The card Druid's Deliverance. Keep that card in mind. So, somebody came to the game wielding a deck focused around the legendary card Nicol Bolas. At least I think that's what it was. And then, and so everybody else at the table focused on him, while I quietly did Simic stuff in the background. And finally they got rid of and finally that guy reached his frustration point and decided to pop a board wipe. Now, I read that board wipe actually prevented... Now, I'd read that Druid's... Hun, could you bring the... Could you bring... I see you have it queued up. Could you bring that over here so I can read it carefully? Now, this was a board wipe that was technically considered combat damage. So, I read the card that Druid's Deliverance prevents all combat damage that would be dealt to you this turn. However, at the time, I had, and still do have, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, inattentive type, or ADHD. That means, sometimes, when I'm reading something, my brain doesn't process all of what I'm reading. So my brain just didn't register that the card would only save my board state. So I played the card, thinking that it would help everybody. And they went, oh, hey, cool, this helps you, but doesn't really help us. What's your board state looking like? So, remember when I said they'd been kind of ignoring me the entire match up to this point? They probably shouldn't have been doing that. Because I had full playsets of some very specific cards. I can't remember their exact names, but they were creature cards where they had an effect where when a creature entered the field, it gained a +1/+1 counter, and another card at the same time that said when something gains a +1/+1 counter, you poop out a token. I had multiples of both of those out at the same time, so you can understand where things went horribly, horribly unsupervised. No, actually, I didn't reverse the board wipe. I protected my board state, but everybody else was screwed. Yeah, everybody else was just screwed. And then they looked at my board state like, okay, what does she have going on? She's been kind of quiet and only sending like little token creatures to just go bounce off of somebody's defenders and die horribly. So I wish I'd had a picture of the board state, but it was truly quite the sight. Oh, online program. They must have switched to a new user ID. They must have switched to a new thing. Yes, I understand and wish to proceed. Something must have went wonky with the last one. Ah, well. Well, so at the end of the day, what occurred was that so they saw my board state and just went, so no. Good game. Have a nice day. And this was my first tournament. I didn't understand what was going on really, and I only really understood after I'd had a lot more experience playing. But also one of the things, so at the time of printing, Druid's Deliverance's effect was that you copied was essentially your board state duplicated itself. It has since been reprinted where you had to pick a creature to copy. So